here to confront you on your terrible, terrible policy.
You're a moron. Ooh, you're a Putin troll.
Well, I got quite the show for you here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got Mark Carney lying again. This is not about Brookfield. This is a different one. He's caught lying again. We've also got Charlie Angus, NDP Charlie Angus, having a complete meltdown. Twice, actually. We got Trudeau appointing 104 positions. We knew he was going to do this. He is stacking the deck with senators and judges. We got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting off with new polling data, Abacus data coming out 42% Conservatives, 28% for the Liberals. This is what I would consider accurate polling data based on just seeing the NDP's numbers dropping and Jagmeet running a terrible position right now before the election, losing support, as well as the bump from Justin Trudeau, the disastrous Justin Trudeau stepping down. It didn't matter what leader would step in, there would be a bump. The banker, a factor of Mark Carney, giving him a little extra bump, 28%. I think that's accurate. We've got Sharia Teese here modeling out 209 seats for the Conservatives, 93 seats for the Liberals. Something to note with all this shift, Bloc no longer going to be the official opposition. Remember when that was going to happen? Party that doesn't care about the rest of Canada would be opposing the government. That would be odd. This is from the 27th. Sharia Teese is modeled out from the week earlier, so you can actually see the Conservatives went up 1 point and the Liberals went down 1. Next up, this one from Shazzy Goli. It says White House official threatens to redraw Canadian border. It says they're reportedly pushing for discussion on redrawing the border amid Trump's alleged ambition to turn Canada into the 51st state. If true, this would be one of the most aggressive political moves in modern North American history. Is this happening? Who knows? We've got Captain Schmuck back in the news. Justin Trudeau has made 104 federal appointments since he announced his resignation on January 6th, including 4 senators and 14 judges. So many judges, Trudeau. Why would that be? You're not hiding any skeletons in your closet, are you? You didn't commit any crimes, did you, Justin? This is extremely important. What's more important is very few Canadians seem to care. That's why I'm putting it on the channel. People need to know about this and should care. Get rid of them all. We need to get rid of this whole system of appointing senators. Like in America, they vote them in. We should be doing the same thing. Next up, we've got Jonathan Wilkinson, Justin Trudeau's Minister of Energy, sticking his foot in his mouth. He's asked about Mark Carney supporting Brookfield moving to America. This is a large corporation. Brookfield's huge. It's a prestigious thing to have Brookfield's corporation headquarters in Canada. So the fact Carney was in favor of moving that to America, they asked Wilkinson here, and he does Carney no favors.
What's not going on in this house?
On the Brookfield move, though?
What I would say is, irrespective of this particular instance, anyone who knows anything about business knows that boards actually have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. I wasn't in the room. I don't know what the conversations were. But I know Mr. Carney is a man of very high ethics. At the end of the day, his job as a chairman of a board is to act in the best interests of shareholders. I'm sure he did that, but in terms of the specifics, you've got to ask Mr. Carney.
In Mark Carney's book, Values, he says Western society is morally rotten. I'm not really buying the argument here of Mark Carney's ethics. To say he has a duty to shareholders just sounds disgusting. We're getting exactly what we're expecting. A rich banker who just cares about money. Not a great response, Wilkinson. I don't think Carney's going to be high-fiving you for that one. So someone replied with this, which I thought was very interesting. The Liberal leadership debate summarized 0 about street fennel, 0 about housing, 0 about immigration, 0 about the border, 0 about bail reform, 0 about China's foreign interference. This is a great point. I get it that the Liberals, they say they put it to their followers and ask them, what do you want to see? But they needed to touch on all of this, even if it was like rapid fire, 30 seconds each, answer these questions. It's disgraceful. They didn't even touch on the biggest problems in our country. Then again, they banned Ruby Dalla because she's becoming too much of a threat. One thing I didn't realize, Ruby Dalla has almost 800,000 followers on Instagram. So yeah, was she a threat? You bet she was. So I don't doubt that the poll she ran right here, 40% for Carney and 33% for Dalla, that's probably true. She's got huge reach. The Liberal establishment, though, isn't about democracy. Otherwise, they would release their findings of her breaking the rules. Next up, we've got Mark Carney getting caught in another lie. So from the Liberal leadership debate, Mark Carney posting this clip on his account thinking this was a good idea.
Well, it was my privilege to work with Paul Martin and when he balanced the books and kept the books balanced. And one of the lessons of that is the need for government to continue to focus on how effective it is spending precious taxpayers' dollars.
So let's just break this down here.
It was my privilege to work with Paul Martin when he balanced the books.
It was my privilege to work with Paul Martin when he balanced the books.
And kept the books balanced.
and kept the books balanced. Not true, Carney. Not true at all. We take a look back memory lane. Canada was running deficits from like 1969 pretty badly. You can see this graph goes from 74 all the way to 96. What happened though in the early 90s, Paul Martin was the finance minister. He decided to make some changes, make some cuts, tried to get Canada with balanced books. Didn't want Canada to have a big deficit. So he started making cuts starting in 93, but then making big cuts in 95. And by 1998, he achieved that goal. So that's what we see here with the black lines. You can see it starting going down. That's when he started making cuts. And we've got a graph here. This is from a Paul Martin report. And you can see here in 1997-98 relative to 1994-95, the cuts he made. So anything on the left side here are cuts. Anything on the right side here are extra spending. So he only spent extra on Indian and Northern affairs. He cut a little bit on health, solicitor general, and then justice, etc., defense, all the way down here. And there's percentages. So he cut regional policies by about 65%. Industry department, he cut by 60%, transport by 50%, natural resources by 50%, environment by about 35%, etc. So these are all the major cuts to get the books balanced. And we can even see it here. This is a Maclean's article from 1998. I've got it highlighted here from a $42 billion deficit in 1993 to hero and zero in 5 budgets. So it took Paul Martin 5 budgets to get to zero. For Martin, last week marked a brief occasion for reflection before moving on to other goals. So I'll link these up if you guys want to take a look at these articles. As always, this stuff is linked up in the description. If we take a look at the federal deficit here, so it says in 1974, Canadian government allows private banks to purchase federal government debt or bonds right there. And then that's when things start going up. And this is where Paul Martin made his changes. So he started in 93. And then by 98, he had those big cuts, and that's when it started to go down. And then what ended up happening, the financial crisis happened here, 2008, 2009. Stephen Harper had to spend a lot of money, like 50-something billion dollars, to keep Canada functional, which put us up here. And then things started to level out, and then Justin Trudeau took over. And what happened after Justin Trudeau took over? Kaboom. So you can see that same line there. It started to level out, and then Trudeau takes over and goes off to the moon. And this is only 2020. It actually goes up higher, going all the way to 2024. This is what it looks like to make cuts and balance the budget. And to get back to Mark Carney's video here.
It was my privilege to work with Paul Martin when he balanced the books.
When he balanced the books, Mark Carney worked with Paul Martin. Apparently, that's not true. Paul Martin was finance minister in 1998 when he balanced the budget without Mark Carney's help. Mark Carney came in, it says right here, November 2004 to October 2007 as a senior associate deputy minister for then Prime Minister Paul Martin. The budget was already balanced, and they just kept running a balanced budget. Paul Martin did it himself, but Mark Carney's trying to take credit for what Paul Martin did. So it goes on to say Mark Carney worked under 2 finance ministers, Ralph Goodale and Jim Flaherty. During this time, Carney oversaw the government of Canada's controversial plan to tax income trusts at source. Carney also went on to lead the government's profitable sale of 19% stake in Petro-Canada. If Carney wants to toot his horn about selling shares in Petro-Canada, but to say that he balanced the budget with Paul Martin is a blatant lie.
It was my privilege to work with Paul Martin when he balanced the books and kept the books balanced.
This guy's a serial liar, needs to be exposed for that. The fact that Carney said that on stage is so dumb. I mean, it shows right on his Wikipedia page here. Mark Carney went to Harvard, you can see here, in 1998, took postgraduate studies at University of Oxford, St. Peter's College, Nuffield College, where he received master's and doctoral degrees in the same field in 1993 and 1995. Meanwhile, this is when Paul Martin is starting to balance the budget. Mark Carney's in university, at least partially in university. He started working at Goldman Sachs in 1990, and he worked there for 13 years until 2003. How could Mark Carney be helping Paul Martin balance the budget in 1998 when he was working at Goldman Sachs until 2003? That's why it even says here, in 2003, Carney left Goldman Sachs to join the Bank of Canada as deputy governor. 1 year later, he was recruited to join the Department of Finance Canada as senior associate deputy minister, beginning the role in November 15th, 2004, with Paul Martin being the prime minister. He did not help Paul Martin at all. Blatant lie. Next up, we have Jagmeet Singh filmed when he got his golden pension, and we had Rebel News here on the scene to heckle and humiliate the guy.
He did not show that.
Mr. Jagmeet Singh, I know you don't want to answer my question, but I think you have to
to listen to it. You have to listen to
I won't answer the question, sorry. But I'll take the other questions.
That is so insulting and rude. You can't be a politician. There's someone ask you a question, answer the question.
Mr. Jagmeet Singh, I know you don't want to answer my question, but I think you have to listen to it. You have to listen to
I won't answer the question, sorry. But I'll take the other questions.
To ask my question.
I won't respond to it.
If you don't want to answer it, it's up to you, but you don't have to discriminate the journalist. Do you have any regret about forcing Canadians to live under a government they don't want so you can get richer? Because congratulations, today you are eligible for your pension.
Like I said, I'm not going to be answering your
Look at this guy's smug face.
questions. Is there any other question? Est-ce qu'il y a des autres questions?
To vote against the government at the earliest opportunity, as you say, before Christmas?
He won't even answer that question. This smug loser, he needs to be tossed out. Liberals and NDP don't like honest reporting. Apparently not much of a democratic party, is it? No kidding. He took his cue from Justin. Shameful that the rest of the reporters didn't call him out on that. I won't answer your questions, but I'll take your tax dollars. Disgusting, no ethics, no integrity, snake in the grass, member of WF, a thief and constantly lying. Yeah, that sums it up. Next up, we have this absolute nutcase, Charlie Angus. I'm not sure why he's having multiple meltdowns and just running his mouth. Maybe it's because he's retiring soon, so he just doesn't care. He goes on a long-winded rant here about Amazon leaving and complaining about subsidies that the government gave Amazon.
I want to begin this morning by thanking everyone who has stood up to defend our nation from the oligarchs and the rising tyranny and fascism that we're seeing coming out of the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezos, the Donald Trumps, the J.D. Vances, the people who've supported and initiated the boycott. This is not a boycott that came from politicians. This is a boycott that came from ordinary Canadians who understand what's on the line here. But today I'm asking all Canadians to come and show their solidarity with their Quebec brothers and sisters, because what has happened in Quebec under Jeff Bezos is a crime against our country. Doesn't this guy have enough money that he decides that the workers who have a right to proper wages, proper working conditions, safe working conditions, that he's just going to shut those plants down and walk away after the government gave over $100 million in subsidies? I'm not hearing anything from the government that gave that, from the subsidized electricity that he got, from all the changes that Amazon was given in the land planning so that they could set up their operations, and now they're just going to walk on us? I don't think so. And for my friends all across Canada who are watching Jeff Bezos laugh at us as he puts up his Canada 51st state gear and swag on Amazon to sell, to make fun of us and our nation, this is the time to draw a line in the sand. Tomorrow is the national boycott of all things American and capitalist American. But the boycott of Amazon has to be more than one day. It has to be a total, full-on boycott. And we're calling on the federal government to show up as well. Are you going to just let Jeff Bezos trash our workers, trash our communities, take the subsidies and walk away because he hates the fact that Canadian workers will stand up for their rights? Where is the Liberal government right now?
Same place you left him, in power. This guy's getting diaper rash over supporting the Liberals. It sucks about Amazon. I'm not doubting that Jeff Bezos is a slimeball and a greedy businessman, but when it comes down to it, you guys made the deal. You should have forced Amazon to stay there for 10 or 15 years to get that $100 billion in subsidies. Why didn't you write that into the contract? And if the Liberals didn't write it into the contract, then you guys should have voted against the government in the next confidence motion. It is all on your shoulders. They need to act better. They need to act better for Canadians, smarter business decisions. You want Amazon to come in and build all that stuff, but give them huge subsidies, force them to sign an agreement they have to operate for 10 or 15 years, otherwise they have to pay that back. God, this is so cringe and embarrassing. Gosh, he sounds a little tyrannical himself, calling for boycotts and stripping citizenship from Canadians, so we're getting to that. Next up, we got Charlie Angus again with Chris Stacey on the scene here. Outside the Russian embassy in Ottawa, just listen to this nonsense. I'm gonna have to bleep out a bunch of stuff from Charlie Angus. That's how much of a meltdown this guy has.
This is Mr. Angus. Yeah. How you doing today?
Good, man. How you doing?
We've got some questions.
We certainly do.
See you here. We're hoping to see some progress.
A little bit of a photo op here.
And we're hoping that we're going to see some peace forthwith.
Absolutely. As soon as Putin is put in jail as an international war criminal, we'll get all the peace you want.
We're not going to have peace until then?
What, you support war criminals? Go ahead.
I want the
support
war to
war
stop.
criminals. Yeah,
Is that
go
what
on.
you're saying?
F off, Putin troll.
Dude,
Putin
I have
troll.
nothing to do with
Well, that escalated fast.
Putin. I
Yes,
have
you
to
do.
with-
If you don't stand with Ukraine, then you're a fascist.
Okay,
So don't waste my
think
time
it's
talking.
do you think it's
Right to camera again?
Do you think it's fascistic to threaten to take away Canadian citizens' citizenship because you don't agree with their political leaning?
Yeah, I know you got.
Do you think that's appropriate?
Yeah. The convoy troll.
What about
He's directly calling him out because Charlie Angus is the one who sponsored that petition in Parliament, which I believe is up to 260,000 signatures. That is disgraceful that Canadians signed that.
political violence, sir? You're a well-known supporter of Antifa. I have been the victim of
Yeah,
this.
you know Antifa?
Yes.
My uncles fought fascists all over Europe. They'd fight your fascists.
So you support the violent Antifa mobs in Ottawa? I have been the victim of violence from them. I was jumped.
You're a moron.
Because I'm a war. So you're saying I deserve the violence from
No, I think
Antifa?
you're a
I was
Putin
jumped,
troll.
robbed, and beaten.
Ooh, you're a Putin troll.
I was jumped, robbed, and beaten in the
Off,
park.
Putin troll. Off,
Do you think
Putin
that's
troll.
appropriate?
A Putin troll, yeah. You stand outside the Russian embassy and
I
repeat
came here
Putin's talking
specifically to
points.
see you.
Off,
I came
Putin
here for
troll.
you. You and your party, actually, Peter Julian called me an extremist in the House of Commons.
Yeah,
he
you
said
are.
my watermark is extremist without
You are an
evidence.
extremist.
How so? Can you provide any evidence
Yeah,
to
you're
that, sir?
standing outside here supporting Putin, you
I came here to confront you on your terrible, terrible policy. I want to know why you think it's appropriate to strip citizens of citizenship.
This is disgraceful. Charlie Angus needs to be stripped of his seat in Parliament ASAP. Chris Stacey shows up and asks him about Elon Musk, and he's calling him a Putin troll. Like, Charlie Angus has got some unresolved anger issues.
Of Ukraine, are there going to be assurances that we're going to get our money back too, or is that a grant?
you get a job?
Was that a grant? I retired when I was young. I made my money before I was 30. I don't need
Get a job. This guy's from the NDP.
a job, okay? My job is dealing with you.
Yeah, you're
My job
you're
is
a
dealing with you.
fascist.
You're
a
getting our money back?
You're a fascist.
So your answer is no, we're not getting our money back. Let me ask you this. Do you support Ukraine going into NATO?
Support
What about
Ukraine.
NATO?
I support Ukraine.
You think they
I
should be in
support
NATO?
Ukraine.
I want to hear you say you think they should be in NATO.
Who supports Putin fascist? You're a Putin fascist.
Charlie, it's time to go. You're done, dude. City MP speaks like this to people paying his wage, people he works for. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, this isn't a good look for the NDP. It's just going to further go downhill. This is an MP. No wonder Canada is broken. Charlie Angus has been sucking Canadian tax dollars for a couple decades. There we have it. Mark Carney lying again. Are we surprised? No. That's the kind of guy he is. He's already proven himself to be a liar. We just really have to pay attention to every little thing he says, especially when they ask him about disclosing his finances. Look at his body language. He always gets uptight. He snaps back. He really doesn't want to say what's going on there. He probably has a bunch of shares or something going on. I've been seeing some comments on that, people saying you have so many shares in Brookfield, and because of that situation and it's not finished yet, he doesn't want to disclose. Otherwise, people would know how much money he has or how much money he made or whatever. There's obviously something there because he said he went through and got his security clearance and it wasn't too bad, blah, blah, blah. Why doesn't Pierre Poilievre do it? And why doesn't he disclose his financial interests? His argument works against himself, so he's got something to hide. And clearly, if he's been caught lying now twice out of a Liberal leadership debate, he's nervous. It's just a matter of time before the bulk of Canadians really know who this guy is.